Welcome into another episode of the Los Angeles Rams Insider Podcast on Sports Illustrated from the Fans First Sports Network. My name is Tom Cavanaugh, your LA Rams insider. Follow me at TCAV30 on Twitter/X and follow our insider pages at Rams Insider on SI, both on Twitter/X and on Facebook. Today we're going to be talking about some top storylines, getting you prepped up for this Week 16 matchup on the road for the Rams, taking on the 4-10 Jets. Right now, Rams tied for first place. Well, technically leading in first place with the tiebreaker over the 8-6 Seattle Seahawks. So a big week. We talked about the NFC West and how everything is looking to play out in my eyes over the course of this Sunday. All four teams playing non-divisional matchups each. And for the Rams specifically, this is their last away game in the regular season. If they were to make a playoff spot and clinch the division, they would have home field for the first game, but it would just depend on seeding. So right now, at this point, this is their last away game that we're going to see for the near future. Injury report came out for the first time yesterday from the Rams, and some very good news when you talk about just an entire team that was plagued with injuries early on in the year. They've gotten a lot healthier. When you look at it, there's only 5 guys on the injury report, and 4 of them were full practice participants, and then 1 was limited. We'll start with him. It's Cobie Durant, the cornerback. Chest injury. He was out last week. He is limited on Wednesday. We will see how he progresses the rest of the week, but he's a big piece. I mean, a couple of guys we'll talk about a little bit later, they filled in nicely for Durant yesterday at the corner, or last week at the quarterback position. So, I mean, the Niners, I know they struggled offensively this year, but the 2 guys that stepped in, being Darius Williams and Ahkello Witherspoon, they did a nice enough job. So even if Durant is out this week, those guys can still get the job done. There's also 4 pass catchers on this injury report right now, and they all practiced in full, which is good, starting with wide receivers DeMarcus Robinson, Jordan Whittington. Those guys are both dealing with shoulder injuries. Backup tight end Davis Allen as well, a shoulder injury. He was full participant. And the one guy that is kind of making waves right now with Rams fans in the organization is Tyler Higbee. Thought he was going to play last week against San Francisco. They kept him out, even though he was a full participant in all week in practice. This week, he starts in full. And good news from head coach Sean McVay. He spoke in a press conference talking about kind of what this week of practice is going to determine for snap count in terms of Higbee getting the football and staying on the field. And he sounded very confident. He said, we'll have to put a plan together, figure out what that looks like, and what's the best way to utilize that group as a whole. It's just a small thing of what he talked about. But he said he's really excited to get him back. And, I mean, that kind of sounds promising that Tyler Higbee is going to play football for the first time this year after suffering that brutal knee injury against the Lions in the wild card loss at the end of last season. He's going to be a big piece for that offense. They've been having Colby Parkinson, Davis Allen, Hunter Long, all those guys chip in a little bit here and there at the tight end position. But you get Higbee back. I mean, he's a force in the middle of the field. So, I mean, that just opens up more room for Nacua, Kupp, and Robinson to really work and succeed. Another guy that's kind of been under the radar last couple of weeks since signing with the team is cornerback Emmanuel Forbes. He signed with the Rams not too long ago, but hasn't seen any action on the field right now. And McVay in his press conference was also asked about Forbes wanting to maybe play Forbes last week against the Niners, his health situation right now. I think he's fully healthy at the moment, but still kind of work back into the playbook. And McVay offered the 2 names that I talked about earlier, Ahkello Witherspoon as well as Darius Williams. Those guys played extremely well. Williams had that huge interception in the end zone to take a possession away from Purdy, and the Rams went down and scored another 3 points to seal the win. So it's possible that we see Forbes in the lineup at some point this week, but if Cobie Durant is out once again, I think Witherspoon as well as Darius Williams are going to step in and play. We'll see if Forbes gets a few snaps here and there, but he's still trying to work with pass game coordinator, assistant head coach Aubrey Pleasant, just to learn the ins and outs of that defense and get right. So when it does come playoff time, he can be utilized. There's one huge milestone we got to talk about. I don't know if it's going to hit this week, but possibly next week for a 16-year veteran Matthew Stafford getting into the top 10 best quarterback conversation when you just look at the numbers and everything. And he is, I think, 490 yards away. Yes, 490 yards away from getting to 60,000 passing yards in his career. I mean, that's incredible. The amount of consistent production that Stafford's been able to put together all the way from his 12 years in Detroit to the last 4 here in Los Angeles. I mean, the guy's consistent and one of the best quarterbacks that we have seen in this generation. Obviously, Brady, Manning, those guys. I mean, those are the greats, the legends, Mahomes and them. But I think Stafford kind of lives up very, very close to that, just based off of how long he's been in the league and how good he has been. When you break down the stats, he has thrown for 5,000 yards once this year, or once in his career, 4,000 yards 9 times, and 12 out of the 16 seasons that he has played, minus one that was a year he only played 3 games. He was injured. He threw 3,000 yards in 12 of 16 seasons overall. So very, very impressive stuff from Matthew Stafford over his career. Last few seasons have been down. Last time he threw for over 4,000 was in 2021, but I think he gets to that point this year, especially if the Rams make the playoffs. Sitting around 3,500 yards for this season, and he only needs, as I mentioned, 490 to get to 60,000. Just an incredible accolade for one of the best quarterbacks of our generation. When you look at the touchdown to interception numbers, this is also why he's so good. 376 tutties to 187 interceptions. I mean, when you look at him this year, 19-7, I know he threw a streak of interceptions over the middle of the year, won a game for about 5 or 6 games in a row, but he has really dialed in over the last couple of weeks. 12 touchdowns, no interceptions over his last 5 games. Even at the age that he's at, 16 years in, he's still delivering his best football that you would see back in 2011, 2012, when he was trying to push the Lions to being a program that they are now. So huge congratulations to Matthew Stafford on that. If he throws for about 350 this week, I think next week is when you get it. Last week did not help at all, throwing for about $120 against the Niners in a game that had no touchdown. One other thing we'll look at, this is inside the division in a big game, because the Rams and Seahawks right now tied at 8-6 apiece. Obviously, Rams have that tiebreaker considering they beat the Seahawks back in week 9, but you'd love to see the Seahawks lose this week to the Minnesota Vikings. Seattle's back home for the second straight week. They lost to Green Bay, another NFC North team, last week 30-13, just manhandled at home. And I think the same thing will happen this week against the Vikes. So when you look at this team and you look at their injuries, because this is where I think it makes or break their season right here, if these guys can stay on the field or not. You got Kenneth Walker III, did not practice. He's got a calf injury, missed the last 2 games. DK Metcalf, he did not practice with a shoulder injury. Tyler Lockett, he was resting. Noah Fant, the other tight end, a very strong piece to that offense as well. Limited practice. He had a knee injury. And then you also got Geno Smith. He was a full participant in practice, but he had a little bit of a nasty lower body leg injury on Sunday Night Football against the Packers last week. And there's a lot of question marks looming around if Geno's going to play this week. I think he does because, I mean, number one, he's a tough guy. Number two, they need to win this game to be able to stay within the NFC West division title hunt. So we'll just have to see how it plays out over the rest of the week. There's 2 more days of practice for these guys, Thursday and Friday. And depending on what news they receive, we will see. Also, Zach Charbonnet's on that list. He did not practice with an oblique injury. He's the second running back to Kenneth Walker in the backfield and has filled in very nicely the last couple of weeks. Decimated offense right now for the Seahawks, and this could make or break their season. If a lot of these guys do not play, Minnesota's got a much easier chance to win that game and kind of let the Rams take a 1-game lead if the Rams take down the Jets this weekend on the road. It's going to do it for us here on the Los Angeles Rams Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Cavanaugh, your LA Rams Insider. Follow me once again at TCAF30 on Twitter/X, and follow our insider pages at Rams Insider on SI, both on Twitter/X and on Facebook. Thanks so much, everybody. We will see you again tomorrow.